This is Aetrix. For those of you who don't know me, I'm going to be spending some time with you guys, going over event communications, moving as a squad, driving around in Sunderers, how base capture mechanics work if we need it, stuff like that. Thank you all for coming. Last time we did this, it ran about 3 hours. That's way too long in my opinion, so I'm going to try to shorten it up a bit. But bear with me. If you have any questions or input or comments or suggestions as we're going along, this course is a work in progress, so please feel free to do that. First thing I'd like to go over before we even get out of the Sunday here is comms discipline. Purpose of this course is for learning how to work as an organized squad and basically run around. Instead of looking like a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off, we want to look like a bunch of Navy SEALs by the time we're done here. So step one is comms discipline. Idle chatter. You guys could bullshit if you like, but the important thing is if there's something important that needs to be said, you can't have the channel cluttered, and you can't be talking over people. So first of all, if people are talking and they have something important to say, if you've got something important to say and you need people to shut up for a minute, it's fine to tell them to shut up, but you don't say it like that. You're going to say, break comms, I've got armor to the north, or something like that. So comm break comms. If you say that loud enough, whoever's talking will stop and you'll be able to say what you need to say. We also have a bit of a priority system we would like to follow as far as who gets to speak over whom in TeamSpeak. Now, if you've got something important to say and you need to talk over the squad leader real quick, he's not going to bite your head off, but try to limit that if you can. First of all, there's the command channel. Now, most of you will never hear the command channel, but it is there. If your squad leader's circle in TeamSpeak next to his name is yellow, he is listening to the comm channel. And that's basically for squad leaders to communicate between squads when we're in a platoon. The reason I even mention it at all is that if your squad leader is listening to that and listening to you guys, he's got two different things going on at once, and let me tell you, it gets crazy. So if he's telling you something and begins to trail off, or if he asks you to be quiet real quick for seemingly no reason, that means he's having a hard time hearing the command channel, and you need to pipe down for a moment for him and help him out. So that's that. After command channel, we've got the all squads channel. You all should have set up your all squads button when you did the TeamSpeak training. I see Army's got his. That's the one where it makes you light up red, and what that does is that will broadcast your voice to everyone in the platoon in TeamSpeak, not just your squad. So what's that for? Well, we want to use all squads when we see something that's important to the entire platoon. Say you're working on capturing a base and you look out the window and all of a sudden you see a whole column of enemy armor coming over the hill. If you're in a platoon, that's probably something everybody's going to want to know, so that's all right. Broadcast with all squads, and whenever you do that, make sure you say, all squads, enemy armor incoming from the west, or something like that. After all squads, we've got the squad leader. He will generally shut up for all squads because people in other channels don't know they're talking over you, so all squads has priority. But squad leader, and then the members in the squad. So don't try not to talk over the squad leader. All squads are the command channel if your leader tells you to pipe down for a moment, and that'll be all good. Okay, next thing. Every time you hop in a squad, you get a number. If you look down on the bottom right near your mini-map, you're going to see not only the capture points for the base you're in, you also have a compass, you have your cert points, but on the right side of the minimap, you have a list of everybody's names and a number. That number next to your name will stick with you even as people join and leave the squad. As long as you don't leave and come back, you will have that number as long as you're in the squad. And we use that for a couple different things while we're in a squad. So you're going to want to pay attention to what your number is. I, for example, am Alpha 1. Rio is Alpha 2 right now. When you're in a squad, it'll also say above this list or when you're in a platoon, you'll see above this list which squad you're in. So keep an eye on that. Ticks Alpha 8 right now, so that's the way that works. You also want to pay attention whether you're an even or an odd number. When we storm through buildings and stuff like that, there's some special things we'll be doing where evens will go one way, odds will go another. It's very important you pay attention when you join a squad, whether you're even or odd, and what your number is. So let's go down the list real quick. I'll go first. Alpha 1, Aetrix, and I am odd.
Even as Rio. Number 2.
What's your number, Rio?
Super Thrive, odd.
Slayer of Tacos, even.
Thebe, odd.
That's Life 6, even.
Alpha 7 Thrasher, odd.
Alpha 8, Tick, even.
Alpha 9, Army, odd.
The British guys were good.
Blue, you hear Blue?
Oh, sorry, what?
Yeah.
I didn't say FK for a second there, what was that?
That's alright. I was just saying that we gotta pay attention to our squad number. You're Alpha 10, and we also need to pay attention to whether we're even or odd, and you are even. Alright, so we pay attention to these numbers because if the squad leader's looking at the map, he can't see the list of names, but he can see your numbers. And he might need you to do something real quick. He might say Alpha 4, move to the building to your east or something like that. So you got to know when he's talking about you. So, all right, that's the numbers. Next thing. Well, does anybody have any questions about that, first of all? Okay, good. All right, next thing. We have to get used to speaking in the third person. Would anyone like to explain what speaking in the third person means?
Blue would.
Go ahead.
Speaking in the third person is referring to yourself by your name and not I, because a lot of people don't know your voice, so you're better off, referring to yourself in the third person, just to be clear for everyone.
That is absolutely correct, and the reasoning is correct as well. Nobody knows who I or me is. Do not assume people know your voice. If you got something important to say, use your name. All right, next thing. Let's see. I got in my notes radio channel usage cases for the event or for the TeamSpeak. Went through all that. Bear with me for a moment. All right, I'd like to talk about identifying threats. Anytime you're in a vehicle or on the ground and see enemies, you should be announcing it to your squad. There's a couple ways to do this. First of all is your Q button. Would anyone like to tell me what the Q button does?
That's Life 1.
I'm sorry, say that again.
It spots.
Yes, it spots enemies. Not only does it spot an enemy, but it puts a triangle over their head that your teammates could see. Not only that, but it will tell you what class they are if they're way far off and you can't tell. And as an added bonus, if you do that on a Galaxy or a Sunderer, it will tell you how many people are in it. And that's very good information to know as well. So whenever you see an enemy, for the most part, you should use your Q button. One small note, enemies can hear you use the Q button. They will hear you yelling out that you've spotted them if they're close enough. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're trying to stay really quiet, stay off of the Q button unless you have a really good reason to use it. Also, other squads, when they use their Q button, they have different voices than the TR does. So use that to your advantage as well. Pay attention to the tone of the voice, and if it's not what you normally hear, it's probably an enemy. And if he's announcing your class, he's probably spotting you, so you may want to find some cover. So that's the Q button. Once you find a target, hit your Q button, light them up. You're going to want to let the people on TeamSpeak know. First thing, if if your position is like not in the middle of the base, if you're off near a rock somewhere or anything like that, you could use yourself as a basis for where this guy is. So you're going to want to say your squad and your number. For example, I'd say Aetrix Alpha 1. I've got tanks to the northeast. So that's it. You want to say who you are, first of all. You want to use the type of threat, whether it be armor, whether it's air, infantry. You want to let people know what's coming. You want to let people know the direction of the threat. For most times, you'll want to use compass directions. You do have a compass over your mini-map. If you're not used to using it all the time, just keep practicing. You will get better. Besides the compass, we might be moving in a vehicle. We might be in formation as infantry moving across a base. In that case, you can also use left, right, ahead, behind, above, below, and that's all with respect to the direction of travel. If we're not moving in any particular direction, that's going to confuse everybody, so then stick to your compass. But if we're moving, you can use those directions. One small note, we're not going to use dead ahead. Can anybody tell me why we don't want to use dead ahead?
Nobody knows where you're looking.
That's true. Also, if you say dead ahead, if I say enemy Sunderer dead ahead, then people say, oh, it's dead. I don't even need to worry about that anymore. And then we end up having infantry dropping on our heads. So try not to use dead ahead. I do it all the time myself, but try not to. Try to get that out of your... make that a non-habit if it is a habit for you. Okay. You also, if you see enemies on hilltops or vehicles up high, or maybe there's enemies down in a ravine, when you're saying northeast, you could say northeast high or southeast low, just so people know they're supposed to be looking up or down to find these guys. Last but not least, when you're saying a direction, northeast, southwest, whatever, make sure you let us know northeast of what. Is it northeast of you? Is it northeast of the base? That's important. And if we're spread out even a little bit, that can make a big difference to where people are looking. So, okay, so that's the bare minimum. You want to say who you are, the type of threat, and where it's coming from. That should be in every communication. If you have extra time and you're not trying to yell over people, very good things you could also tell us is the number of enemies. If you get a good count, that rate. If you see a galaxy or a Sunderer or a Liberator, let us know how many people are in it. If there's a full galaxy coming, we want to take it out. But if it's empty, it's honestly really not worth dealing with. You'd probably be better off shooting at something else. So number in the vehicle is important as well. Another thing you could tell us is the distance or the direction of travel, or how long you anticipate them before they reach the squad. So just to recap, who you are, the type of threat, direction of threat, number of enemies, distance, direction of travel, time, and as my big all-encompassing glorious example, I would say Aetrix Alpha 1, enemy armor northwest of Alpha, capture point, 2 mag riders and a lightning, moving southeast, closing in fast. You may not always have time to say all of that, but it's all useful info.
Now, my
Any
only
questions?
thought is, since most people are only going to be here to their own squad, you shouldn't have to say alpha every time. If you understand what I'm saying. You know, normally it's only 12 people in the channel and some people in your squad.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. When you're in a platoon, you might hear people saying stuff on all squads as well.
Yes.
So whenever I have, as a squad leader, if I have a command for Alpha and I'm in Alpha Squad, I will say, Alpha Squad, please do this.
Yes,
just to make sure
I
people
will
are paying
say
attention.
that.
Yeah, don't be afraid to use your squad name. Okay, any other questions, comments on that?
Slayer of Tacos would like to make a comment.
Yes.
Just
right.
as a general thing, it's all very subjective. Like, in the middle of a biolab fight, obviously not everybody's going to have time to say Alpha 1 Slayer of Tacos with the Mag Riders and whatnot. I mean, if it's a big fight, keep it short and sweet, but out and about in places like Ravens that I just came from, just kind of, use your head.
Yes, absolutely. And I will say everything that you will learn today in this course is for ideal conditions. It will begin to break down when we get into the middle of a big giant firefight. The idea is to get general ideas of how we're supposed to behave, move as a team, work together, and provide some examples of it, and do our best when we get into a group. It's going to sort of be automatic when we get out in the middle of a firefight. I guess point is learn, but realize that nothing's going to be perfect when you're actually out there. So, okay,
Let's rock.
if that's all for questions, I believe I'm all done with voice comms. Now, Sunderer is deployed. First of all, when we're moving around as a group, our goal is to get the Sunday to our destination as quickly as possible while avoiding enemies and not getting killed.